So first of all, thank you all for joining us. Thank you for being here in our offices, in our arena, and thank you all for connecting online through the links provided. First of all, I wanna represent myself. I'm Nikita Popova, and I'm the People Engagement Specialist here at IT Labs. Our re-imaging session today, it's titled The Power of Power Apps, a session that will be about Power Apps, what they are, their potential, and how you can use them in your advantage. As for the speakers, I have here the two experts. They will hold the session. Blagoje Panovsky, a principal software architect at IT Labs with 19 years of experience. He is an expert in technical infrastructure, tools, complex cloud development, and architecture of systems. And I have Alexandra Vinokic, technical lead at IT Labs. She has more than 9 years experience in software development, and is a specialist in developing web apps using C#, .NET, and Java. Without any further ado, I would like to ask Blagoje and Alexandra to take the stage. Welcome.
Thank you, Nikita, for your introduction. Okay, so thank you first for joining this session. The goal for this session is to share our knowledge and experience on working with low-code platforms, especially with Power Apps. Also, we would like to, at the end of the session, it is expected that you will be familiar with the low-code platforms, actually what they are, how you can use it in your advantage, and also what are the pros and cons and the reasons why you can think of them on using in your projects. Also, we will discuss on Microsoft Power Platform and its benefits, how easy you can use it in your daily work, and why you as a developer or also non-technical person should jump in that area. The audience for this presentation is not just technical persons, because Power Platform and low-code platforms are intended to be used by the wider audience. We'll go through the details in that. So can you please go back to the agenda? Today we will cover, as I said, low-code platforms. We will focus on the Microsoft Power Apps. We will have a demo on two applications that we created for that purpose, and at the end we will have a question and answer session. Please note that you can freely jump in with questions at any time. We don't need to wait for the last session. And also we will cover most of the slides with the cases that happened during our experience with the local platforms. So the reason why we are here actually is this first slide. As you can see by the numbers, the local platforms have a bright future. Why is that happening? Most of the companies nowadays have any kind of system, manual work, repetitive tasks that requires a software. So no matter if you are in not just IT company, most of the companies you can imagine have some paperwork, some documents to be generated, some stamps to be created, added on top of that, some approval process, whatever it is, and also archiving documents. So in order to have a better organization of all these processes, digital transformation is a process that is actually going on. It is accelerated in the recent periods by Corona, and I will say that most of the companies need any kind of this application to automate this process. So where local platforms fit in the place, they're created just for that purpose. They're created to be easily developed. So they can be developed even by citizen developers. If you are not familiar with that term, that means that the target for these apps is not just the developer, but also anyone that can work with Excel, let's say, because they resemble Excel at some point. They're simple enough to be used by everyone. On the other hand, the process of hiring is costly. So it requires time and money to hire developer within your organization, and not all of these companies have this more options. Can you please proceed forward? Guys, if you have any question, feel free to jump in. Regarding use cases, what do you think? What can be the use case for local platform? And which are the best scenarios, the cases that we can cover with them? Let's make comparison between the regular app that we are doing nowadays.
Simple forms applications.
Yes, it is something that can be it is simple enough to be done by non-technical person, I would say.
Calculation.
Yes, calculation. You can think on the automations, any kind of automation. Let's imagine some the flow that is happening. Step of rules. Let's say we are starting with acquiring data. After that, we can generate some documents, put a stamp on it, and send an email. This is a simple flow, and you don't need to have developer in your company to create it. It's not just that. We can have many different scenarios, and the important thing is that it shouldn't be anything in-house only. In the first glance, it seems that local platforms are, especially Power Platform, are intended for just a local audience. But nowadays, the goal for them is to not just to automate internal process, but also they can expose it to the public. So use cases are endless. Alex, can you remind us for some of the use cases that can be used for Power Apps?
Yes, sure. As you already mentioned, we can automate, for example, processes like I would say requesting annual vacations,
right?
Or yes, or processes in the company that every company have, for example, costs and some expenses requests that should be approved and then should be processed. That's some simple flows that every company have can be automated with Power Apps simply and faster and without even knowledge of some yes, programming language.
What do you guys think? What is the pros of using Power local platforms? What do they have in common?
Time saving.
Time saving, right? Time is cost.
Money saving.
Makes sense.
No need for extensive knowledge of software development protocols or software development languages.
This is the one most important thing. Actually, they are easy to be used. You don't have to spend time for getting into it. Most of them are intuitive. I have had a chance to compare some of the competitors. In the market, there are many different tools. And actually, all of them are simple to use. They're easy as, I would say, to be used even by kids. They have drag and drop functionality, most of them. And you will find the difference between low code and no code somewhere in the internet. Actually, I will treat it as one because no code are flows that does not require any kind of code. But low code platform can have some code in it. So actually, they are easy to be used. They have a lot of connectors out of the box, so you can easily integrate with externals, with other systems. So you can build up a solution in days, I would say, in months. So much faster than the regular application. And the other thing is that they can be used by the audience. What would be the cost scenario when we cannot consider using local platforms?
Some complex solutions.
all right, correct complex solution. Although you can find an examples that they're supporting complex scenarios, my understanding is that a solution which require a lot of customization. They're hard to customize because in most of the cases you have kind of vendor lock. Not all of them. Some of the competitors allow exporting data, and depends on the base platform they're built on. Some of them have JavaScript, some of them have other language. But for most of them, you have vendor lock, and it's easy to get to it, and it's made to be easy, but you cannot easily get rid of it.
Do they work offline as well?
Yes, that's a good point. They work offline, and they are natively mobile support. Most of them, especially for Power Platform. You can build up any simple application just to manage data, to make payment, whatever it is, and you have a mobile version by default. We will jump in now to the Power Platform itself. Microsoft Power Platform is just one implementation of the low-code platform. There are many other on the market. APN is one of the leaders, and they have different approaches. They have a lot of integration. Some of them have their own custom languages for usage. Microsoft Power Platform is easy to be for usage. This is something that we have heard, but there are some trade-off or some potential risks that we should be aware. And our goal today is to get you familiar with advantages when you can think of Power Platform, no matter as developer or non-technical person, and what can be the potential risk where you can spend more time in not worth investing in that area, because it will be simple just to build a regular app in that case. So regarding the Power Platform, please go with the slides. Power Platform contains several products. The first three are actually the applications, the apps. We have three types of applications that are within the Power Platform. The Canvas app. This is the one that we have used a lot in the past, and the next two are model-driven and Power Up portals. All these options have different purposes, and although they have many similarities, they are used for different goals. The Canvas app itself is the one that gives you a lot of flexibility. You can create application on your own. You can write add component as you're painting on the canvas. There are many connectors out of the box. I think more than 200, 300 that it is nowadays, maybe more. And you can easily create the layout. You can easily create layout. You can create pages. You can create components, navigation between them. So you can easily create a UI application with just much simple. You don't need to know JavaScript. You don't need to know C# or Java or whatever it is to build it. And at the end, it has, as I said, deployment is pretty simple. You don't have to care about that part, and also it is well integrated with many other systems. But one more thing to consider is that Canvas app is not responsive by default. Alex can make it responsive easily, but you have to calculate on your own. There is we will show you later how we can achieve this. On the other hand, model-driven apps are database first approach. If you have a database, which is Dataverse in this case, it has already templates for creating UI. So you shouldn't care about the UI because it will be created for you by default. But it allows a lot of data, more complex scenarios for data, but it doesn't give you flexibility as you have for Canvas app. So it's kind of trade-off. You can have both of them. There are scenarios where you can have both of them, but you need to mixture up something like, let's say, embedding Canvas app within the other one or so on, which is not a great solution in my opinion. On the other hand, Power Up portals are are applications that are intended to be used for, they're not for internal purposes, I will say, and they can be used for even with single sign-on, with external providers. You don't need to be authenticated to use them all. It is kind of extension of Dynamics. It is built on the top of the Dynamics, and it can be accessed. It is like a portal. You have freedom to configure URLs where it will be deployed. You have a lot of flexibility on design or creating design, but it is a web application part. All three options has advantages and disadvantages, and in our case, we have mostly used Canvas apps due to its flexibility for creating custom components. Power Automate, it's also, sorry?
We have a question.
Of course.
It's asking, is Power Apps only for the developers?
Power Apps can be used by different audience. I can say that it is something that can be easily learned because it's too intuitive for even for school kids, I will say. Even for someone, it is a drag and drop functionality. It doesn't require a lot to build a simple app. We will go later if you want to work with environment, with solution. It is a more complex, but I will say that it can be used even with for non-technical person easily.
And we have another question from Alvance. Is there security issues on low-code platform?
Our platform is based on Azure Active. Azure covers the security part of Power Platform. When you deploy our platform, the URL that will be generated for you will follow all standards needed for applications. So it is compliant with all security standards. So I can say that our apps are pretty secure in that way. More than we can do if we can do it from scratch. I don't know about the competitors. I haven't had a chance to work on them, but I'm pretty sure that they're spending a lot of time in security.
Thank you, Vladimir.
Okay. Power Automate is a serverless model from Power Platform that is used to automate processes. So we have used Power Automate a lot. It resembles Logic Apps. If you have experience with Azure Logic Apps, the Power Automate is pretty much the same thing. You have a flow that starts with trigger, no matter if it's manual trigger, if it's time-based trigger, you can create jobs that run in background, or triggers that happen after certain action, adding new role or changing table in the database. So once the trigger occurred, we can easily build a set of tasks, which is a flow that will result in an action. So it is a pretty simple concept for automating processes, no matter time-based or it is well integrated with all of these tools. Power BI is for reports, and I won't spend too much time on that. Microsoft Power Platform includes other tools for AA bots or database can be also added, but I won't spend too much time on that. Alex, we can proceed with the next one.
Yes, thank you, Blagoje. So I will move on. As Blagoje already said, the Power application, Canvas application we were worked on, can be built in a Power Apps studio. That is how it's called, the integrated development environment in Power Apps. And that is a web designer studio, which is online, and you can work only online on that application. Of course, as Blagoje also mentioned, you don't need to know high-level programming languages or some other standards in traditional development. But of course, there are some challenges you can face when starting working with such platforms. For example, one of the challenge we faced was the teamwork. So as we are used to working in the traditional programming, we are working as a team on a local copy of the code on our machines, and everyone is making changes and then propagate those changes on the source control. And here in the Power Apps, that is not a case. It is not letting to multiple developers to work on the same application at the same time, and that was one challenge that was really big issue for us, because we wanted more developers as a team to work on that application. So what we could do here was to create a copy of that application for each developer, and then everyone to work on a separate dedicated copy of that application, and then manually copy all the changes back to the main application, which of course is time consuming, and you cannot plan what could happen when you're copy paste things, because something can be forgotten, something cannot work, and it's pretty much waste of time. But that is one way that we started working.
Alex, I would like to jump in here. This is one of the issues, the major issue that we have faced at the very beginning. We were thinking on how to overcome it. One of the options was to separate front-end and back-end, our traditional approach, and we have started in that way. We have built the UI from the app, and we have used flows for the backend. At the end, it came out that it's not a good approach, because the flows itself took some time to be run, and it affects performance. The other approach that we have used is to configure Studio under Git. It is achievable. It can be done, and we did it that way. And imagine it is working well. And after a while, we have faced some strange issue. It was working like 2 weeks for all of us. The code was merged well automatically behind the scene, and at some point, it actually has faced some merge issue. The code that Power Up generates is kind of HTML structure, and it is not easy to solve. Even when we have tried to go back, and we were unable to run the application at all. It's something that you should be very careful. That's why we have ended up with this creative solution, having a duplicate version of application and manage them separately, which may be not the best solution, but for us, this creative solution worked well. So thank you.
How did you merge at the end? Because it's still XML for all those different versions. You need to merge all the changes at the end.
Actually, we don't care about that part. Power Apps is doing this in the background. We are not dealing with the code that is with the HTML that is behind the scene. The thing is that Git has done this merge for us, and at some point made mistakes, and we were unable to revert it back, because Power Apps are not so as simple if you just jump into the previous version and to work with ACTs. At some point, we have faced with some dependencies. Imagine that we have history of changes for 2 months, and if you add some dependency, and after that someone incidentally remove it, if you go back to the previous version, it won't work, because it will require dependency out of the Power App. It is not as simple. So you need to be very careful with that part, with making changes, especially with dependencies. But for that question, actually, we are just adding to this and managing components from the UI. We are not dealing with the HTML itself.
Yes, thank you, Gloria, for explaining this. So this was an experimental feature that Power Apps offered for using GitHub as a source control. There are many other experimental features that are offered by Power Apps, and they are growing constantly and adding new features. You should try them, but you should be very careful, as Blaga said, and to always have a backup plan, because things like this are most likely to happen. We are talking here about low-code platforms, and we are talking that it's really easy to get in use with this technology. But here as well, we have a language that is used in Canvas applications, that is PowerFX. I mean, it's not only in the Canvas, but it's across the whole platform. That language is really friendly, human-friendly language, which is Excel-like formula bar. You can use it really easy, and you can learn it really easy. There are a few functions that you need to know, and you don't care about how those are written in the background and how they will execute. You just need to know the syntax and when to use them. So PowerFX is really powerful, but really easy to learn language that this platform offers. And of course, we already touched the topic for the source control. Another way for versioning is the built-in versioning that Power application have. And that is when you are creating the application, it is creating a new version for you, and on every save of the application, it creates a new version of the application. That doesn't mean that that version is live, because you need to publish application to see the changes as a live application. But the problem here is that the Power Application Studio has some built-in option to defaultly, which is by default turned on, to auto-save your work every 2 minutes. And we wasn't aware of that at the beginning. And if you make some mistake or you want to undo your changes, there is an option. But if the version is already created, you cannot simply undo the changes, and you cannot revert to the version that is not live. So it is really hard to rewrite the things again and again until you figure out that that option needs to be turned off. But fortunately, you have option to do that.
Actually, the good practice is to disable this auto functionality, and to, when you save changes, to add notes about what has been changed. This is how you can have a history of all the changes. Alex, I have something about the PowerFX language. Actually, it is using the declarative approach of programming. Are you familiar with the difference between imperative and declarative? This is really
maybe no. Understand.
This is the concept is kind of different. Like imperative is like you're creating a flow, a set of steps. Do this. If this is the case, proceed in that way. Traditional, let's say, programming way. We have used it in jQuery, in C++, and let's say in React we have all different options. We have declarative approach, which actually we are defining the state, the expected state, not how to get there. We don't care about the flow. The flow is handled by the system itself, but we are defining the state. This is what we have used in the Canvas apps. We are just defining what should be expected. It is similar as in Excel. You're just writing formula, and in the cell you're writing the expectation. You're not going to each of this. It's pretty much the same concept, and this is how we have created responsiveness. We are actually writing expected size based on certain criteria. We are also, this is how we are coloring or rendering the thing, and you should be aware of that approach. It is simple and easy to be used, but this is good to know. Next.
Thank you. As in the traditional development, we all know that the quality of the code is something that should be that we should take care of. And can someone tell me how can we ensure in the traditional development that we are doing something good, that we are building high quality code? How can we ensure that?
I assume test.
Okay, someone else?
Guidelines.
Yes, so as in the traditional development, also here, we need to follow some standards or guidelines, I would say, that should be followed across entire application in order to better manage and better organize your work, and in order to better understand if anyone else look at the application to know what the components are doing or what the variables are meant to be doing. For example, we need to take care of the naming convention, and it's really important because if you add more and more components in your application, it will grow as much as it's much bigger, and you don't know which controller is doing what on which screen is placed, and also because the names are across the entire application used. It's not only on the screen, but their scope is global. So you need to take care of the uniqueness of your naming of the screens, of the variables, of the components, and all stuffs you're creating in that application. Also, the another thing that is worth mentioning is that we need to take care of code reusability, even if there is low code, and even if there are some simple functions, you also need to take care of reusable blocks and how to build them. In Power Apps, that is done by using custom components. They're used to build some common things that will be used across entire application and screens, like some custom dropdowns, or you need to create some custom menus, custom headers, and stuff like that in order to minimize the components in your screens. And we will mention why is that important. And also here comes the custom functions. Power Apps doesn't have a concept for creating function as we are used to work with in other programming languages, but you can somehow create them by using custom components and use them, their properties, output properties, as outputs from your functions, and thus you can create code reusability. Another important thing here, because the design is what you see at the first, you need to take care of your responsiveness of the application, as already Flavia mentioned. We did that by calculating the position of the components and also used some relative styling, which means one component is have strict coordinates, and all other are referenced by those components. And if you move something left or right, every component will appropriately move to that way.
Right, sorry, we have also used to group components to easily work with them. We can create a group of components, and we can easily manage them, organize them, align them appropriately. This is how what make the development much easier for us. We need to, because the approach is kind of different that we are used to. We have to get used to all these things. And very important thing that Alexander mentioned is the scope of these components. Although you can have a page with all of these components named appropriately, and when you create another page and you have the same thing there, it will show you an error, because each component is unique by on the application level, not on the page level. This is also important. We added the page name as a prefix or whatever it is, but we need to make distinction between all of them. Right?
Yes.
Any rule that you apply, how the elements should be aligned when you change from portrait to landscape or from big screen to a smaller screen? Are there any predefinitions that have to be set so you pretty much always have a nice dialogue?
Yes, firstly, when you are creating the Canvas application, you are choosing what orientation your application will have, but the real scaling of the application and components is Power Apps, is built in Power Apps, and you don't take care of that. actually you take care of your components that you're placing, but the actual screen will look good even on a tablet, smartphone, or a laptop, or standard computer. Yes, another thing that should be mentioned here is that you should be consistent across all applications, and it doesn't matter if it is about naming or about design. You should follow the same guidelines and standards across the application. And in terms of design, that could be done using custom functions, as I already said, for defining the palette of the application, some standard fonts or some standard text that need to be shown across the entire application. And topic that Blogger already touched is organizing objects and codes with the grouping of the controls. And also you need to take care of the properly formatting the text, because it's not that readable in the development environment the PowerApps is offering, because you, after some time, you will end up with lines of code that you could not read. And I also mentioned here that you need to take care of minimizing the number of the controls in your application, because that is affecting your the performance of the application. And Microsoft is saying that you don't that you have to have maximum 500 components in your application in order to properly work. And that is something that you will overcome if you're adding components for everything you will build. So you need to reusable components and functions in order to minimize that number of the controls.
Can you make custom controls?
Sorry?
Custom controls.
Yes, you can make custom controls and reuse them in the screens you are using. Even you can export them and use in another application if that is something that is organizational thing. I mean, some header or something that is common in across all application you will do. And another topic which is important in every development of application is about the data we will store. So what kind of application it is, it would have some data in it. And in PowerApps, there are many options for data sources, and one of them is the Excel files. Excel files are not meant to be a database for sure, but it is easy to use, and it should be used when we have some pretty simple data to store. And Blogger will later show some example of that. But if you have some complex data structure, or you want to have some some bigger data, you need to consider other options here. Also, SharePoint lists are good option, because the Office 365 license covers that, and you don't need to pay additionally for using SharePoint list, but they are also not meant to be a database. It can be used for a simple, as a simple storage, and this metadata could be leveraged in order to have database look. But if you have relational database, this is not a good choice, because you cannot relate the tables you will create here. Another choice is SQL database, which is already known for everyone here. It is probably the best choice you could have here, but the disadvantage is that you need to take care of the connections, you need to take care of the connection strings and how you will connect to those database, how you would query and stuff like that. And the last option mentioned here is the Dataverse, which is offered by the Power Platform. The advantage for Dataverse is that it is integrated in the environment itself. It is the part of the solution. You can easily deploy it to the other environment, and you can use it pretty easy without having so much knowledge of the databases, because everything is set up. You don't take care of the connection strings and how you would connect to this database. But the downside is that it is paid. It is paid options. Yes, you need to have a proper license in order to use them, to use it as a database. And for example, if you have 100 users, every user should have a proper license, which means the cost is much bigger than every other choice above.
Alex, I would like to, while we are on this screen, I would like to tackle some important topic, which is delegation. Something that you should be aware of when you're diving into Power Apps. What is actually delegation? If you create a Canvas app to work with any of these data sources, not just database, but any other source, when you run the application, you will see that it performs really fast. And it will be kind of amazed because it works really fast and you're working against the data that is somewhere with some entities that are not here. And the answer of that question is that data is in memory. The data that you are working is in memory. What is the delegation process here and how Power App Connector works? When you connect your application with some external sources, it will pull up to 5,000 records from there. So imagine if you have 5,001 records, this less record won't exist in your application at all, if you are not aware of this concept. So you will work with this 5,000, but the rest of them won't exist. You can extend this number to 20,000, but it is not recommended because it will affect performance. The delegation concept is actually to, instead of pulling all the data from the source, to pull only data needed and actually to delegate the work to the external source. Instead of getting data from Dataverse, we are just getting appropriate filtered data from there. Most of the actions, of the filtering actions, of sorting are supporting delegation. And this is how you should design your application when you're dealing with data. How we have tested it locally, because at the very beginning, we weren't completely sure why is this happening. You can easily change the number of records to some small number, to 5, let's say. You will notice that your application won't work as it is, the records will disappear. And this is how you can test that the application is pulling what you need and it can scale with a large number of data. This is very important and it is how it's designed by its nation because of the performance. Most of the connectors, most of these services are supporting delegation. You will find it in the documentation, but this is something that you should be aware of because there is no magic. The performance is not working just like that. And regarding the licenses, Alex is correct. This is one of the major issues that we have faced during our experience working with Power platforms. They have really complex licensing model, and we are used to pay by. Let's make a comparison with two regular app. When we are creating a regular app, we are considering where it will be deployed. So the compute powers, the storage where it will be deployed, how to scale, how to replicate, what other system services will be used, and we can easily calculate the cost on the whole application as a whole based on that. For Power platform, it is not the case because it will be deployed on a single click. You don't know what is happening behind the scene, and depends on what you choose for not just for data storage, but also for components that you are building. You may end up in the licensing model, which is costly, to be honest, and it depends on it depends on the number of usage, Sorry, if you in the regular application, if you have 20,000 users, you just count the service that handles that, but you cannot do it that way. You need to pay license for all of them, and this is something that you need to be aware upfront in case you design application like this. I forgot to mention that Canvas apps also support external users, but you need to add them as a guest in the Azure Active Directory. The portal apps allows use a single sign-on approach, and you don't have to.
You need to pay for each guest that is added.
Correct. So each user that is using Canvas app, in case we are using some of these dataverse or let's say custom connector. Actually, Microsoft has this politics, and in the past they allowed us to create custom connector. What is custom connector? If you don't want to pay for something, you can create custom connector to integrate with some external service, right? But now it is also under that license, and this is changeable, and we should be aware of that. Because licensing model is not easy to calculate. It can be per user app, and they have model per I forgot the third one. That was it depends on the usage, but all
Pay as you go.
Pay as you go. Sorry. Thank you. So this is something that you should consider.
But if the users are added through Active Directory as external users, is it managed through the Active Directory licensing?
They must have Office 365 license at first to be able to access this application. But this covers only standard connectors. For connectors that require additional licenses, it won't be enough for you. If you want to have application that works against database with all advantages that it has. Native, it has backup, security, millions of things that you can have out of the box. It will fit into the other payment plan, and you can use it. One important thing is that you even can I forgot the term, impersonate user. One of the things that we have in fact was to pay for one user and all of them to impersonate and work as them. It is not supported in PowerUp, so each user is treated separate.
So to calculate cost, you need to calculate how many users will use the app.
Correct, and not just app. The other option is app per environment. We'll see later on. To calculate cost, you will need to see the user. So if you have some infrequent users, you can try with pay as you go, which will charge you if you have just one access on a monthly basis. But the calculation is different, and also not just the Power Platform, the Power BI and also the Power Automate are also part of this licensing, and you should have them in mind. If you use these flows as part of the application, you won't need extra licenses for that. But for separate user, you need to consider also this side. This is one of the cons in my mind that prevents you to scale this application for a large number of users. But this is the politics of the Microsoft, and in my mind, this is how actually the simplicity of this application and everything that you have for granted has some cost. Of course.
The premium license of the Azure Active Directory?
It's not they are separate licenses. Any other question on that topic? I think we can proceed forward. PowerUp solution. Actually, as I said at the very beginning, you can create an application in a couple of hours a day and make it work. But if you want to have application ready for deployment, better structured application with everything inside deployed to different environments, you need to use a solution. Solution is kind of container. It contains application or set of application. It contains also Power Automate flows, one or many. It contains variables. It contains database. So imagine as a set of many things that you can deploy from. You can export from one environment and deploy to other. So it simplifies the process of deployment a lot because it contains everything in it. So if you sorry, we can open everything. So environments, on the other hand, It's more than that. It can have many solutions in this, but the concept is pretty simple. When you start with development, you're creating a solution. Solution has some publisher which is prefix for your custom components. It is good to have this prefix. You will distinguish them from the other one. Environments, regarding environments, there is one by default, and you can create many other. When create environments, you need to specify a region where it will be, and if it will be used Dataverse or not, if it is sandbox or production one. And the important thing, it is tied with the licenses, because the storage that you will get depends on the number of the license user that will use. It's kind of trend. You cannot just get resources without paying licenses. It is designed in that way. And publishing application is as simple as it can be. You can just go on the application, click on share, find out who you would like to share with, and just click a button. It is so simple. It is generating a URL which is tied with your domain, and everyone that you are sharing application with can access it.
Can you use custom domains?
For Canvas application, there is a vendor lock and you cannot do it. It just generates the URL. You can think of there are options. You can embed this application within the HTML within some other service, but by default it is not allowed. For the other application types like portal. Thank you, Alex. You can customize domain. Both of them has
location dependent. If you want to redeploy in some other location or other resource.
Location is defined in the environment.
Location in region.
Yes, like region.
Is it dependent, or you need to delete the first one and redeploy the second one, or you can just move it through regions?
I don't know how it can be. I don't think if you can switch region afterwards. Have to check it, but I don't think you get such. You
define the region as part of the solution.
It is not as a solution. It's an environment. When you create an environment, you're setting up the region. Some of it makes sense for you to close this one, and you are proceeding it in that way.
And the availability?
Microsoft takes care of it. You shouldn't worry about that. That's the problem of this.
Monitoring?
Yeah. There is a monitoring. There is a monitoring by default and troubleshooting, and we have created custom logic on our site. It can be easily integrated with application inside. It is there is a by default, and you can see a history of all runs. This is a good thing, but one of the disadvantages, something that we have faced with, and we have struggled with, is the errors itself. They are not too intuitive. They are not as easy to find out, and you don't have so huge community to get this answer from the Google. So it is not easy to find all of that. I forgot to mention about solutions. Sorry, we have two kinds of solutions, and one is the development solution, unmanaged. We can name it unmanaged, where you can set up everything, configure everything, transfer, so on. And managed, this is the deployment ready solution, where you cannot make changes afterwards. This is important because we are deploying managed solution, and if there is some mistake there, you won't be able to make changes. So we have had some creative solution. We have created some unmanaged solution in different environments by our own, and added components there just to be able to manage them. And regarding deployment, just a quick note: it is well integrated with ADO pipelines. There are tools for Power Platform, and they're doing exactly the same thing as manual deployment, exporting solution, applying transforms and deploying to the desired environment. It is a simple task, but I will mention again that once you face issue with the deployment, it won't be easily to be recognized and solved. In many scenarios, we have issues with dependencies. This is very important to know, because flows and flows, especially flows, can have many connectors. And if you don't add connectors as part of the solution, during the deployment it will fail. It will say that the connector is missing. What we have done to overcome this scenario, we have created just one connector, and we have used it in different environments. Let's say for test environment, we had one connector used across all flows. The disadvantage of this approach is that only the user, that is the owner of that connector, can make changes there. We're kind of limited. What time do we have? What?
Only for demos.
Only for demos. Okay, let's jump into the demos. But guys, do we have any questions regarding this part? Solution environments and publishing applications?
I have one general question. One of the previous slides, you had code usability, you had naming conventions, you had deployments, pipelines, all of these things that are from a developer experience that you have brought into the Power Apps development that you have made. So if we are saying that Power Apps can be made by anyone, non-developers, right? People with no developer experience, how long would you think it would take? Is this possible, given all the cons and all the problems that you have faced, issues and lessons learned?
In my mind, a non-technical person can build this application, can deploy them, but the things that we have mentioned require additional knowledge. Maybe automation won't be part of their work. Transforming of these pipelines, having multiple environments, they can have one environment. In order to deploy to other environment, they need to be aware of the transfers on this connection and everything. Application is easy to be built, but if you want to have sustainable solutions, something that you can easily extend, something that you can deploy fast, and something that, including logging, auditing, and everything, it will require more than just a non-technical person. This is my personal answer of that.
Yeah, and also some limitations like 5,000 rows or delegation,
yes,
concepts like that.
You can build without following any coding standard, but when you face some issue, you will have to learn about
number of components.
Yeah.
You can build a lot of components, face that limitation.
Right, not just that, also the size of the file that you can upload, the number of components is one of that, how you can structure them. You can start in one direction, you can find out that you can.
So there is a learning curve, it's not that.
That's why we have scheduled this.
If you want to build more.
With this was one of the, sorry?
I have another question. What about the resources? Can you use hybrid resources like on-premise and Azure? Can you combine them in order virtual machines, servers?
I don't think so that we have that feeling. I have to check about the options with connectors.
But the minimum requirement of resources that you need to take from Azure, and everything else can be supplied by you.
I'm not sure that we have that flexibility. Actually, flexibility is one of the major disadvantages of this. You don't have this freedom. Now, jumping to the code, we will show you the first example will be a simple application, simple quiz application, which gets data from the Excel file. For that. Data will be stored in the Excel file. We will create. Let me jump into the Excel just to have you to have understanding. Can you see the screen? So this is my question list. you will notice that we have two types of question, true-false question. They're ordered by some step, and we have options for lists, different options, just to have it a visual view, and the answer. The reason why I'm showing this is just to let you know how you can visualize this question and make an interactive quiz within your application. And this can be easily used. Let me run in the play mode, and I will edit this. This is something that you can use for internal purposes. The first screen of this application is the intro screen, which you cannot skip easily because I have added timer and also the video that you should take a look. You can add text, let's say, in comparison, but this is something that you need to read prior moving into the application itself. The next screen will be the questions itself, which are dynamic questions, and the last screen will be completion of the quiz. As you saw, the list of questions are stored in the Excel, and one of the things that I wanted to let you know that we are using component. This is the component that was created for that purpose, that is actually dealing with the questions. And the question screen is just randomly adding 5 of the questions, and based on the answers, it will sum up all of these answers, and it will give you a summarized result. Just something that you should also know is that there are a couple of events that are happening during the application run. The first important is on start. This is like a standard startup of the application, and this is where we are setting up initial data. For each of the pages, we can set up some things that are happening on start or on certain action, and this is something that we have that I have created, like a general things that will be used across the application. I have added some primary filler and color, and if I change it from here, this is my settings page, it will apply all pages. Let me just run the application just to for everyone to see it visually. So I have two competitive timers, I will say. There is a timer. Once it expires, it is setting some variable to certain value, and same applies if video is completed. So did you notice the appearing of this button? It happened only when these two conditions were met. And if I proceed forward, you will see that it is getting data and showing them visually based on the Excel document. I can rearrange them. So we have that freedom. We are reorganized, but I'm using only five questions, and based on the answers, I will just answer the first one. I will miss the rest of the question. Option 1, and this is my question. Actually, I should get score of 10 because I have intentionally missed all of them. And if I complete this, I will fail the test, I presume. I have failed the test. So what is happening under the scene? I'm calculating the results in a variable, which can be seen from different pages. And this one is, let me just find my quiz Excel. If I refresh this screen, you will see that this result will be added over here. And this is Alexander. Alexander, you have failed the test. It wasn't me. So this is how easily we can manage this data. This data. So it is pretty simple application. There is no much about this. Let me just close it again. But you will notice how the code and UI is structured. You have just few pages, the flow after it's happening. This is the button that is here, and you will see that the visible parameter depends on these variables. This is the declarative model that I have.
Power FX.
Yes.
Yes, this is power FX. Yeah, you're correct. So in a nutshell, that is everything that you need to create the app. Thank you, Alex. You can proceed with the next example.
Yes, I will be very short because our time.
We are short on time.
Just to close those. So another demo is related to I would say more complex use case. I'm just kidding. This is an application where you will request your expenses in the company and then someone should approve or reject them. So basically we are building some approval flow here. It is pretty simple. Anyone can build it because it's just using already defined connector in Power Automate. So here, I won't go over the whole application. I will just make another request just to see how it works. For example, I will pick up some date here when the request occurred, some title. Here you can choose approver to which you're sending this request, but because this is a demo, it will be sent to my account. So I'm the creator and the approver as well. So I will add here some, let's choose that this is for food costs. Something like this. I would put some cost here. I can upload the receipt, which I don't have in this computer. So I will save without attachment. And I can add more costs here, but I will just submit this just to check how it will work. So it is saying that the request is submitted successfully, and it should be displayed somewhere here. Demo title in the open.
It's pending.
Yes, thank you. It is pending. So it is the demo, and I will go in my Outlook account just to show you how it will how it will look like
So Alex, it is running a Power Automate flow in the background,
yes,
right?
so it's running a Power Automate flow, and here it is the request that I just received from my account, and it is saying that someone has submitted something for review. I can go in this link to show you that you can click on link and to review the expenses. I can approve, reject it. So I will approve it, and it should appear here under the approved requests. So it is pretty simple. I can show you just the flow that is really simple and that it can be understood by everyone because you are just using what component you will be used. So here we are preparing the template of the notification, and here it is the connector that is sending and waiting for approval, and we don't take care of what actually happens behind the Outlook clicks and stuff like that.
Short question: is there an option to get a conditional approval? For example, if you have a few options so that some few expenditures that are included, can you choose to approve some and not approve the others?
It could be done, but it requires more logic here in the flow. It is just a simple demo, but yes, you can build complex logics here as well.
This is out of the box, so you can just leverage for your needs.
I have a simple question. And here, for example, at one expense report that's folder, I have separate expenses. So, for example, one is for food, the other is for accessories, and this on the same report needs to go to 2 places for approval, so 2 separate people. So the one is going to be approved by one person, the next one by next.
Yes, you can choose different approval as well. So Yes, it could be upgraded. This application could be upgraded. Yes.
Just a quick note on that. So you can have many approvals. This task gives you this possibility to choose many approvals, and you can decide if all of them should approve, or only if if one of them approves, then it will be treated as approved. There is flexibility in that area. You can design it in a different way. But the thing is that it is really simple to do this flow, because this task, this functionality, you will get out of the box. It's just to order them. If you notice, most of the work was to replace the appropriate fields to personalize the template. But the approval process is just a simple thing.
Yes, I just wanted to show the things I was discussing previously about the grouping, about the names. You should take care of your structure here as well. I have some components for the header. Also, I have a component for functions for getting some default colors. Blago, I had another approach with the screen for settings. You are free to choose your way, but you should be consistent across the application. And that is everything I had to show in detail. Any other questions? Maybe we have online questions.
Not at this moment. Questions from the audience?
Okay.
So how do you find local platform? Is it worth investing in that?
Expensive.
Nice one.
Not too long call.
What do you think? Let's say, like a non-technical person, you can give us. What can you imagine any scenario where it can be useful for you?
Another thing useful for me, I probably have another approach in this. There was an application, I don't know if you have used it, is called If This Then That. It's a low code. You just mention and you put two applications. Let's say you take a picture and it puts it on the cloud directly. So I think this is something similar to that, but I don't know the freedom of this based on the UI user interface that is based. So probably there's a question for me on that side. Can we, let's say, customize it further, or is it the way we just saw it?
Thank you. So actually, what I'm thinking of this work of verify, say, the market is huge. As you notice on the very first slide, the major players are investing a lot of that. I saw recently that AWS is also investing in that area. Most of them have local platforms, not just Microsoft. And because the need of this application is really huge. And the demand is huge. And if you saw the projection in the very first slide, you will notice that no matter how precise they are, the thing is that the money that are invested there is really huge. So my proposal for all of you is to be aware of that. At least if you have scenarios like something simple that can be built, no matter if you are startup or you are let's say entrepreneurs or thinking on something to go to market fast, this is one of the options, because you don't need a lot of time to spend for learning, and you can easily go to market with a couple of, let's say, days, I would say hours, but you can easily go to have a first prototype. And this is, you can think of, and the flows are really powerful because they run they're easy to be made, and they're intuitive, easy understandable, and you can think of this if you face with something simple that you need to build. The options are endless, but our goal here was just to give you our understanding, how what we have faced during working with one of this low-code platform, but and to think on when you have the next project is one of the options for you.
Well, something's gonna give. We either need to pay more to do less, or find another solution that will probably end up costing more.
we all can then think of this. So it is one of the options that we should get in mind.
We have a question from the online audience. What were the biggest issues you faced? It's the one.
I think the major issue that we have faced was with our experience with the guest users. I can say thank you for Vladimir for helping us resolving this issue, but actually one of the requirements was to on the project was to support external users into the system. And the Canvas app has this limitation so they are allowing adding guest users, but they didn't need to add them in Active Directory as a guest. And we did this, and it was working perfect. We have created the pages, we have created the flows, we have started building up different components, and it was working excellent for a month and more. And all of a sudden, when we have introduced this flow that Alexander shared with us, it stopped working for guest users. And the error message wasn't understandable for us. It returned something like your tenant is incorrect, I don't know, something that it's not easy to translate. And we weren't sure what is the issue. We have opened ticket with Microsoft, one that helped us a lot here. And actually at the end of the session, then we have found out that this connector is not supported for guest users, but you cannot easily find this because no one prepares you for that, to be honest. So we have identified that, but we still need to solve this solution. And actually, we have found out a solution for that because it was one of the requirements to support guest users. We cannot leave it as it is. And the difference was made by the trigger that actually runs the flow. It is not intuitive at the very first glance. You won't be able to find this answer easily on internet because the flows that are running are actually running on behalf of the user that owns the connector. But there is a different type of trigger that can be configured for this certain scenario instead of using connector for guest user. We have predefined user, and all the users that are using app will run the flow on behalf of it. I'm not sure if I was clear enough, but the thing is that this issue was one of the major ones that we have faced with. Luckily, we have found the solution, but this is something that may happen. And also, one more thing is that this platform is really dynamic. It's changing on a daily level. We have cases, couple of times where the next day the user experience was kind of different for us. For database, I think for managing data, this is a different topic, but you should be aware and prepare for that. There is such a risk.
We have another one. How easy - hard it is to estimate?
Alex?
Okay.
This is for you.
So it's, to be honest, it's really hard to estimate something that you have never worked with. And because of such challenges we have faced, I can say that you cannot predict at all any of them. So you should be very careful when creating estimates for platforms like this, because you don't know what's behind the scene and what could be or could not be done, and for what features you might build some custom solution. So you should be very careful when estimate this, and to have every time to have a buffer for things like this.
Actually, the thing is that client is expecting a short period for this because local platforms are made for that. They are created to do the things faster. And this is one of the potential issues that you can face with. You need to investigate a lot, or attend a session like this to have most of this info, because you can easily fall in a scenario where you cannot easily solve, because you are kind of locked by the vendors, by the vendor, and this is something that you need to be prepared for and have a good researcher from.
And what's the comparison to .NET or yeah?
We already mentioned some of them, but the language is pretty simple and you don't have to take care of the environment itself. You don't have to take care of the setting up the database if you are using, for example, Dataverses in our case. It is much simpler than in a traditional coding. So there are some similarities, like I already mentioned, coding standards and stuff like that, but it's not a prerequisite to build such an application with Power Application. Thank you. So,
no more questions?
No more.
Not any more questions from the online audience. Yeah.
Okay, then thank you for your attendance.
Thank you all for joining this session. I hope that you have learned something you can think of in the future. Thank you all for
your presentation. It was very thorough and detailed, and I'm glad so many questions came up, and you did a terrific job.
Thank you very much.